On a quiet morning in the forest of Wispia, autumn leaves drifted gently down. The trees were only half dressed, and the air whispered that winter was coming. Not far from there lived a little bear, kind, curious, and playful, but not very responsible. He spent his days exploring, never thinking much about what would come next. While the forest softly murmured, "Winter is near," the bear always replied, "I'll get my den ready later. I still have time." Days passed, and the animals hurried to prepare for winter. Everyone except him. He kept playing, leaving everything for later. One cold morning, a tiny snowflake landed on his nose. The bear froze, surprised. Autumn was ending faster than he expected. He looked around. The trees were already bare. The ground was turning white, and the forest held a new quiet silence. Winter had arrived. He ran to look for berries, but many were hidden under the snow. He tried to find dry leaves, but almost none were left. He wanted to fix his shelter, but the den was cold and empty. For the first time, the bear felt worried. He had left everything for too long, and now he didn't know where to begin. His forest friends saw him sad. The rabbit gathered leaves for his bed. The bird found berries that could still be picked, and together they helped warm up his den. The bear worked beside them, learning step by step what he should have done before. When they finished, the shelter was warm and ready for winter. That night, as the first snowflakes fell, the bear curled up happily, thinking about how lucky he was to have good friends, and how important it is to do things on time. And so, today's adventure comes to an end. The forest holds many more exciting stories waiting to be discovered. Each night, a new tale begins to glow in Wispia. Winter had arrived in the forest of Wispia. Snow covered the ground, and the cold air made everything sparkle. Among the trees lived a little fox, quick, curious, and a bit mischievous. Not far away lived a young raccoon, calm, kind, and a good friend of the fox. In the middle of the forest stood an old wild pear tree. Its golden fruits were sweet, and all the animals loved them. That winter, only one golden pear remained. It shone among the bare branches, waiting to fall to the ground. The two friends wanted to enjoy that last fruit and promised to eat it together whenever it finally fell. One day, while wandering without direction, the fox spotted something bright on the snow, the last pear. It had fallen without anyone noticing. The fox looked around. No one was nearby. If I keep it, no one will know, he thought. He picked it up carefully and ran back to his den, trying to convince himself that nothing was wrong. That afternoon, as every day, the raccoon went to check on the precious pear and was surprised to see it was gone. Seeing the empty branch made him sad. He thought it must have fallen, and someone might have taken it. In his hiding place, the fox stared at the pear. It was beautiful and golden, but inside he didn't feel right. He took a deep breath and made a hard decision. He ran off to find the raccoon, the pear held gently in his teeth. When he found him, he said nervously, "I found it, and I didn't tell you. I'm sorry. I want to share it with you, just like we promised." The raccoon looked at him in surprise and said, "Telling the truth can be hard, but it almost always helps you feel better." They sat together under the pear tree and shared the golden fruit. It tasted even sweeter when enjoyed together. And so tonight's adventure comes to an end. The forest hides many other wonderful stories waiting to be discovered. Every night, a new tale begins to shine in Wispia. Winter had arrived in the forest of Wispia. Snow covered everything with a soft, gentle glow. In a small burrow lived a kind, good hearted little mouse. But he had one flaw. He hoarded all the food he found. He had gathered so many acorns and seeds that he almost didn't fit inside his burrow. While the forest moved slowly in the cold, he only thought about protecting his huge pile of food. One morning, he saw a woodpecker pecking at a frozen trunk, searching for food and finding nothing. The mouse looked at his storage. He looked at the bird, and for the first time he thought, maybe I could share one. He took an acorn and left it beside the bird. Bird looked at him, surprised, and gave him a huge, grateful smile. The little mouse felt a strange, lovely joy. Helping made his heart feel light. Later, he saw a small squirrel digging in the snow, trying to find something to eat. The mouse hesitated for a moment, but then took another acorn and placed it in front of the squirrel. She opened her eyes in surprise and made tiny hops of happiness. Then he saw a beaver shivering with cold under a bush, too weak to go and look for food. The mouse shared once more. The beaver smiled shyly, and the mouse felt his chest fill up even more. He went back to his burrow. There was still plenty of food, but now he felt happier than ever. He had discovered that sharing made him feel better. He hadn't lost anything important. On the contrary, he had discovered that generosity always comes back as joy. And so today's adventure came to an end. The forest keeps many other warm stories waiting to be discovered. Every night, a new story begins to shine in Wispia.